Hi, I'm Sophia Tabor and I'm a somatic self-coach and a certified somatic sexologist, and today I would like to talk about that what kind of talking is actually helping you reach better experiences. And it's both as important, better and experiences. So it's quality, and it's also not just a technique, it's not just an action you can do, it's really how it impacts you. How it's, yeah, that I lived it. It didn't just happen to me, I lived it. So we like to talk about that. It's good to talk about sex and it's important, and if you ever thought about going to like a sex coach or something like that, and you're gonna have to talk about sex, so it's gonna make it better. But what? How does it make it better? And I have multiple answers for that. And the first is, it's coming from my praxis that if you don't know what you want, it's much harder to reach it. And I really experience it a lot. I also give sensual erotic touch sessions, and people come to me and I ask them, what would you like? And people can't really answer that. They really can't. They don't know what's the difference, that what they can choose from, and that really makes it harder. And it's not just because it's like a professional session. It's also a big problem in couples that, hey, dear, what would you like? What do you desire? And it's very hard to phrase it. And the reason why it's very hard to phrase it, very often, not always, but very often, it's because it's hard to comprehend it in the very clear sense, or like the very straightforward sense. And I would like to give you an example. Sometimes on my sessions, when we go into deep body work, with erotic body work with someone, and it's more of a conscious experiencing, and we reach something very deep experience. They really like kind of meet themselves in a very deep sense, and in a very orgasmic and immersive sense, like it takes them over. And there is this phase when we kind of go through the edge, and they are fully taken by this experience, and it has a phase, and then they come out of it, and then we just wrap up the session. And that look when they are just looking in front of themselves, it doesn't always happen, but sometimes, rarely, it happens. And they just look, kind of stare to the air, that like tuned out or something, but you really can see that they are comprehending. I really got this question multiple times, that what did just happen? Really? Like, what? And it's well, first of all, it's amazing. It's amazing when somebody can experience that, and that's why this kind of experiences happen in somatic sexual coaching, because you need to be ready to experience that, first of all. And second of all, that it's crucial, and I say crucial, that when this stare happens, or when this question happens, in the most profound way, what did just happen, that we answer this question. We really profoundly answer this question, that what was the experience about? Because if not, it just kind of stays hazy. It was amazing. But what? What was amazing? How can I ask for this? How, if I don't comprehend it myself, then how do I also know that, how do I find this in myself? And that deep level of comprehension, what we first of all need, and talking about it often helps. So we don't just like talk about sex, like, oh, sex, and oh, I read about this or that. No. The kind of talking which helps you to comprehend, because they experience something from inside, and I experienced something from outside. I experienced their experience, and of course I have much education and professional experience too, so I'm much more educated in comprehending what they experience, so I can help their comprehension. And then they realize it, and then they can frame it, and they can frame it in a very meaningful way. Not just that, oh, I like orgasms. Yeah, cool. That's probably true. And what deep other experiences you like? What does it help you? What fulfills you on a very deep level? So that's one kind. And another kind is coming from the interaction itself. When they experience something, and I was there, and I experienced their experience. And I also have a sense. It's very important. Body work, somatic work, is a felt sense very, very often. I'm going to talk about that later. But it just means that like a car mechanic, they just put their hand on a machine and, okay, this kind of vibration means this or that. And surprise, it really does. Yeah, but what is that? What is this kind of vibration? I don't know. I feel it. It's a felt sense. So that's the same very often with somatic work, that I have a very specific sense, and you have a very specific sense about how your partner feels like in sex or in any kind of erotic interaction. And you kind of like, I don't know, sometimes people say that it just like dropped, like, like it was like, very nice, very nice, very nice, very nice, and then it just dropped, let's put it this way. And it didn't just happen as I kind of showed it. You feel it really in your body. And we have this kind of inner experiences, and we have this kind of shared experiences with our partner. And when we talk with our words, we also try to express that feeling, that vibration. And the best way is that, hey, could you put your hand on that machine? Do you feel this vibration? Yes. And after you felt it, you're gonna be able to identify it again. That's what sexual experiencing is on one way. If with your partner you had a feeling, that was like a very vigorous, intense sex, and ooh, and then wow, there was a drop. And in the end of the sex, you talk about it and you say like, did you feel that drop? In that this way after this and that when we turn, oh my God, yes, wow, I felt like so spacious. I thought I'm going to orgasm, and then I didn't. that feeling. I would love to feel that feeling better, but more. Because now it's not just a thought. You felt it too. You felt it, like what happened in you. Hopefully you felt it, and then like where it ended. And when there is a sexual relationship building, you are building a shared code, kind of. That, do you know that drop? Wow, yeah, sure. It happened again. Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, that was great. Or like, wow, it happened much faster than it usually does. Like in a much lower intensity. Or like, oh my, we went much higher in intensity and then we had the drop. And they both know that feeling. Like, wow, it was kind of the drop, but it felt a little bit different. Yeah, how different? And that's the conversation. When you connect your experience, you again comprehend what is happening. And that helps you not to go high and kind of lose your mind. Because, yeah, of course, losing your mind or like not knowing what's happening, being so given to the moment, it's great. But it's also, it's not the greatest thing. Being fully present and like receiving all of this experience, well, that's awesome. That's endlessly awesome. And if you can share this with your partner, it can get better. Communication, I think during sex, communication gets much easier if you start to build this kind of shared code, which is building on your inner experiences. And that's amazing. And there is another thing. Oh yeah. And if you don't take your time to comprehend something, our mind is really drawn sometimes to kind of just shove it to the side. And I really do have many experience with that. One person who comes to my mind, they came in also for a massage, and like an erotic massage, and you know, when you open the door, I could tell that they're kind of cynical. We started to talk, and you could tell that they're kind of cynical. And you know, I'm always like, okay, let's see. Maybe, you know, it's gonna be harder to get closer to this person, to open, have an open massage with them. But then I really found a way in, and it ended up being a beautiful massage, and I felt their system being closed, but we did things like he could experience orgasmic or like very high sexual pleasure by being touched or pressed on their body, on their neck, on their back. You know, I pressed them, and as much as I pressed them, their pleasure just, wow, went upper and upper. It was absolutely beautiful. It's not the kind of experience that someone experiences like during like casual sex. And I remember this person told me in the end that, you know, like, oh, okay, and you know, this end of like, okay, how are you feeling? What happened? And he told me that, oh, he didn't like this massage. And what I felt is like, huh, that's so interesting. I really want to know more. I'm curious. And I went to shower and came back, and I set them down. It's a usual thing, you know, like talking after to really integrate. And I said, oh, you said you didn't like the massage. Can you tell me why? And he said, because nothing interesting really happened. It was just what's the word? Just the usual. It was just the usual experience. I was like absolutely amazed. Like, I didn't feel that it's true, because people who regularly experience these kind of experiences, their body, I can feel that their body behaves different. So I was skeptical that it's true, but I started to like dig deeper, that, okay, so like, do you know this part again? The shared code. Do you know this part when this happened and that, and you put your leg here and that and da. And then I touched your back, and and then I started to press, and it looked like it was sexually pleasurable for you. Does it, right? I said, like, you could really see, honestly, like, thinking, said, yeah, you are right. Yeah, that happened. That's true. Yeah, that was new. And then I asked another thing that happened, and the third thing that happened, and actually a fourth thing that happened, which was very out of the ordinary experience. And he really took his time. Really thought that, like, you are right. That also happened. And then I could see that in all of this intensity, what he experienced, it kind of, these special experiences he had, what I could bring him into, was kind of swept away. He really needed time and my little sweet digging that, you are right, that happened. His mind, and he didn't even realize it. His mind was ready to sweep that away. And that is why we want to talk. And not just like talk, but doing that what he was ready to do. Really think about that. And really kind of, connect back to it. Oh yeah. Ooh. Yeah. That happened. And that's how we train our system to first to comprehend and to be more comfortable with such experiences. That, oh yeah, maybe he never heard about something like, if there would be a guy talk, and maybe the kind of guys who are his guys, like, and I went to this erotic masseuse, and then they pressed my back, and wow, it was orgasmic. Whoa. Probably he wouldn't get, like a good tap that, wow, that's cool. And that is a way how our culture also shapes that, if I feel it's not so acceptable, or I don't know where to place this experience, it's easier to show it a little bit. But then I just limit myself from amazing, like in this case, with training, he could have like a full body orgasm very easily. And we just limit ourselves from that when we are not ready to look at it with, there's the seed. And I know that I'm 100% sure that he was ready to leave my place and show it in his mind, rather than growing and watering that seed of pleasure, that new kind of pleasure, which really opens a new universe. And that's what I really, really desire for everyone. And that's what my job is about. So that's it for today, and stay curious and open. And if you want to experience better, it's on you to learn how to do so.